You know, when people hear the word vampire, they picture something straight out of a movie: pale faces, sharp fangs, sleeping in coffins, afraid of sunlight. But what if I told you that vampires can be real? That they might be living closer to us than we think. Hidden, hungry, and ancient. This story happened in a quiet town called Salem Creek, tucked away in the foggy hills of Oregon. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, or at least, they think they do. It began on a chilly October evening. 3 high school friends, Megan, Troy, and Lila, walked into the Salem Creek police station, their faces pale and trembling. They reported their best friend, Emily Carter, missing. "She was supposed to meet us last night at Willow Park," Megan said, her voice cracking. "We were going for coffee, but she never showed up. Her phone's been off since yesterday." Officer Ryan Hale took down the details, while his senior partner, Detective Cole Jensen, joined him at the desk. Cole had been in the force for 12 years, calm, observant, and known for solving strange cases that others couldn't. But something about this one felt different. A chill lingered in the air, even inside the warm station. As Ryan typed up the report, the phone on Cole's desk began to ring. Static filled the line at first. Then came the faint sound of sobbing. "Hello, this is Salem Creek PD. "Who's calling?" Cole asked. No answer. Only the sound of muffled crying and something else. A low growl, almost animal-like, echoing faintly behind the sobs. "Who is this?" Cole pressed. But before he could trace anything else, the line went dead. The dispatcher checked the caller ID, and to everyone's surprise, it matched Emily Carter's number. Cole immediately ordered the call to be traced. The signal was weak, but led them far out of town, deep into the forested region that bordered the old, abandoned Ravenshade mine. By late evening, Cole and Ryan were driving through the narrow, misty road, their patrol van's headlights slicing through the fog. The woods were unnervingly quiet. After nearly 40 minutes, the tracker signal flickered, then vanished. "Lost it again," Ryan muttered. "She must have dropped the phone somewhere." Cole was about to turn the vehicle around when something caught his eye. A dark figure lying motionless by the roadside. They pulled over. Cole's flashlight illuminated a young woman, barely conscious, her clothes torn and smeared with dirt. It was Emily. Ryan recognized her instantly from the photo her friends had given earlier. They rushed her to the hospital, but what the doctors found shocked everyone. Emily's body had been drained of blood slowly over the past 2 days. Cole was about to turn the vehicle around when something caught his eye, a dark figure lying motionless by the roadside. They pulled over. Cole's flashlight illuminated a young woman, barely conscious, her clothes torn and smeared with dirt. It was Emily. Ryan recognized her instantly from the photo her friends had given earlier. They rushed her to the hospital, but what the doctors found shocked everyone. Emily's body had been drained of blood slowly. Over the past 2 days, her veins were nearly collapsed. Her skin had turned bluish-gray, and strange burn marks covered her arms. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. 3 of her teeth were missing, and on her back, someone had carved an inscription in a language no one could identify. Cole felt a shiver crawl up his spine. It looked like an ancient ritual marking. "This isn't just kidnapping," he muttered. "Someone was doing something to her." The police collected samples of her clothing and skin for analysis. Ryan took them to the lab, while Cole stayed back at the station, going through the location data again and again. By midnight, he decided to return to the woods alone. The road leading to Ravenshade Mine was deserted. Moonlight barely filtered through the thick canopy. Cole parked near the spot where Emily was found and started walking deeper into the forest with a flashlight. It was silent, too silent. After walking for what felt like 15 minutes, Cole realized something strange. He was back at his own car. He frowned, turned around, and tried again, taking a different path. But after a few more minutes, he ended up in the same spot. It was as if the forest was looping around him. His heart started to race. Then, through the mist, he saw them figures, maybe 5 or 6 of them, walking slowly toward him. Their clothes were soaked in what looked like blood. Their faces were pale, hollow-eyed, their movements unnatural, jerky, slow, deliberate. Cole pulled his gun, shouted for them to stop, but as soon as he blinked, they were gone. Only the cold air remained. A wave of dizziness hit him suddenly. His flashlight fell to the ground, and the last thing he remembered was a pair of cold hands grabbing his shoulders before everything went black. When Cole opened his eyes, he was lying on a wooden table. His wrists were tied, and a tube was inserted into his arm, draining blood into a glass bottle beside him. The room was dimly lit by candles. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls in what looked like dried blood. Animal bones, burnt herbs, and human teeth were scattered across the floor. Two people sat nearby, a young man and a woman. They looked perfectly human, clean, calm, even attractive. They were talking casually and drinking from the bottle that had just been filled with his blood. Cole's heart pounded. They weren't just kidnappers. They were feeding. The woman looked up, her eyes glowing faintly red in the candlelight. "Don't struggle," she said softly. "You'll only bleed faster." He wanted to scream, but his throat was dry. On a nearby wall, he noticed something that made his stomach twist: photographs of missing people from Salem Creek. Some of them dated back over 30 years. Every face was marked with a small black cross. Cole knew he had to get out. When the two people stepped out of the room, he began to work at the ropes binding his wrists. They were soaked in his own blood, which made them slick enough to loosen. With one last desperate pull, the ropes gave way. Cole staggered to his feet, dizzy and weak. He could barely stand, but he forced himself toward the door. He slipped out into the cold night, running blindly through the trees until he stumbled upon an old phone booth near a rusted mailbox. He shoved coins into the slot and called the station. "Salem Creek Police Department," Ryan answered. "Ryan, it's me, Cole," came the weak voice on the other end. But before Ryan could reply, the line was filled with static, and then the sound of crying. "Cole, where are you?" "Cole!" Ryan shouted, but the only response was the same haunting sobs he'd heard the first night. He quickly traced the call. It led back once again to the same patch of forest near Ravenshade Mine. Ryan grabbed a team and drove there immediately. The fog was thick, the moon hidden behind clouds. A few meters down the road, he saw something lying near the ditch. It was Cole, collapsed in the same spot where they had found Emily. Ryan knelt beside him. Cole was barely breathing. He whispered something Ryan could barely make out. "Not human, the blood," and then went still. Cole Jensen was dead. Ryan clenched his fists, his chest tightening. He swore to uncover whatever had taken his partner and Emily and put an end to it. The next night, Ryan returned to the forest with a larger team. They combed the area inch by inch until one of the officers shouted, "Sir, found something." Through the thick fog stood a crumbling wooden house, half hidden by vines and trees. There was a broken phone booth right outside. Ryan's pulse quickened. This was the place Cole must have called from. Inside, the air was heavy with the stench of decay and something metallic blood. Candles were still burning, faintly flickering. Symbols covered the walls, and in the center of the room, a black altar was surrounded by bottles filled with dark red liquid. Ryan's flashlight trembled slightly in his hand. On the altar lay human teeth, small animal skulls, and a large, leather-bound book written in an unrecognizable script. The forensic team collected samples, while Ryan flipped through the pages. Drawings of bats, human bodies, and rituals involving blood transfusion filled the book. One page stood out. It depicted two figures drinking from a bottle, beneath which was written, "To preserve our eternity, we take from those who breathe." It wasn't a cult in the ordinary sense. It was a coven of vampires, kept alive through dark magic, hidden beneath the mask of humanity. They didn't bite necks like in the stories. They drained blood slowly, over days, to prolong life without exposure. Ryan realized that Cole and Emily had become part of that same ritual. The house was burned to the ground after the investigation, though no bodies were ever recovered. The locals believed the fire ended it all. But Ryan wasn't so sure. In the following weeks, he couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the sound of crying through the static of his police radio. Sometimes, he'd get calls from unknown numbers. When he answered, he'd only hear breathing, followed by a whisper, "Drink or be drained." 2 months later, Ryan resigned from the force and left Salem Creek for good. He never talked about the case again. Years passed. Salem Creek moved on, but every October, people say they see lights flickering deep in the forest where the old Ravenshade mine once was. Some hikers claim to have found fresh bottles filled with dark red liquid buried in the soil. Others say they saw pale figures moving among the trees, whispering in a language no one understood. The legend lives on that somewhere in those woods, the Coven of Salem Creek still survives, feeding, waiting, and hunting those who dare to enter their territory after dark. So, next time you hear the word vampire, don't just think of movies or myths. Think of Emily Carter. Think of Officer Cole Jensen. And remember, not every monster hides from the sun. Some just hide in plain sight, waiting for nightfall. Do you believe in vampires? Because, after Salem Creek, Ryan Hale never stopped hearing their whispers. Still brave enough to watch alone? Then subscribe. More nightmares are waiting. Tell me, in the comments, would you survive that night?